Good evening. My name is Simon Taverner, and it is my honor to serve as the Executive Associate Dean for the College of Natural Sciences. On behalf of the faculty and staff of the college, I would like to welcome you to our Fall 2024 Commencement Ceremony. Please stand, if you are able, as the Air Force ROTC Wing Walker Honor Guard presents the colors, and join our Colorado State Brass Ensemble and Haley Price in singing our national anthem. This is the point where I say, please remain standing. So may I ask you to stand, please? Thank you. I'm now pleased to introduce Arlene Nederdog. Arlene is the Director of Inclusion for the College of Natural Sciences, and she will be sharing the Colorado State University's land grant acknowledgement with us this evening.
Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. This was also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other Native tribes. We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion, and significantly, that our founding came at a dire cost to Native tribes and peoples whose land this university was built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment. Please be seated.
Thank you, Arlene. I now wish to introduce to you the members of the Platform Party who represent the leadership of our college and of the university. I will ask each person to rise and remain standing throughout the introductions. Please hold your applause until all have been introduced. Dr. Marion Underwood, Provost and Executive Vice President. Dr. Jacob Roberts, Interim Dean. Dr. Meena Balgopal, University Distinguished Teaching Scholar in Biology. Dr. Eugene Chen, University Distinguished Professor in Chemistry. Dr. Debbie Kranz, University Distinguished Professor in Chemistry. Dr. Santiago Di Pietro, Research Associate Dean. Dr. Bruce Draper, Chair of Computer Science. Dr. William Fairbank, Interim Chair of Physics. Dr. Deborah Garrity, Chair of Biology. Dr. Alan Knapp, University Distinguished Professor in Biology. Dr. Amber Crummell, on behalf of the Chair of Chemistry. Lieutenant Colonel Scott McCoy, Air Force ROTC. Dr. Cassandra Mosley, Vice President for Research. Arlene Nederdog, Director of Inclusion. Dr. Tom Painter, today's commencement speaker. Eric Ray, Vice President for Human Resources. Dr. Tracy Richards, Associate Chair, Psychology. Dr. Don Rojas, Chair of Psychology. Dr. Clayton Schonkweiler, on behalf of the Chair of Mathematics. Dr. Melinda Smith, Chair of Faculty Council. Dr. Laurie Stargill, Chair of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology. Dr. Haonan Wang, Chair of Statistics. Let us recognize these outstanding leaders. This is again the point where the script says, please be seated, but I'll gloss over that bit. In addition to those on stage, I would like to take a moment to recognize all the faculty in the college in attendance today who take great pride in providing the highest quality education to our students. Faculty members in attendance, please rise as you are able. Please be seated. And now I'm pleased to introduce to you Dr. Jacob Roberts, Interim Dean of the College of Natural Sciences.
Class of 2024, congratulations. You've demonstrated perseverance, resilience, drive, and focus to get to this day. You earned the seat you were sitting in, and we are all here to celebrate your accomplishments. At this time, I'm pleased to introduce to you our commencement speaker, Dr. Tom Painter. During college, Tom's two passions, mathematics and skiing, seemed to be opposing forces. He dropped out of his mathematics degree here at CSU, twice, to live in the mountains and ski nearly every day. But he always found his way back to Fort Collins, and after a few more career twists and turns, Tom's two passions came together in the field of snow science. Today, Tom is the founder and CEO of Airborne Snow Observatories Incorporated, where he combines his expertise in data and snow to model and accurately predict the amount of water in snowpack. Building on his experience working at the NASA Jet Propulsion Lab, Tom uses advanced technologies to provide water runoff predictions to municipalities so they can plan for efficient water use. Tom credits the education he received here in the College of Natural Sciences in the areas of mathematics, physics, and computer and data sciences with being the foundation for his success. Thank you, Tom, for sharing your words of wisdom with our graduating class.
Well, first of all, who's here to yell for the graduates? Yeah! All right. Well, dear graduates, families, friends, faculty, and administration, while it is just another Saturday for many of us, this is an important day in your lives and your families' lives, and an important day in the ongoing process of maintaining and improving civilization. I'm humbled and honored to be invited to address all of you, a sea of the community of my natural scientists here in my hometown. Here at CSU, in the College of Natural Sciences, where my father was a professor of mathematics from 1963 to 2001, and who we miss to this very day, especially on days like this. Here in the gym where I first saw the Harlem Globetrotters play, and Meadowlark Lemon hit a hook shot from back up there at about row 25. George Benson's Weekend in LA tour, which was back when it was really hip. And my brother and I, who's up here, graduated from Fort Collins High School. And here on the stage, where in 1989, my father handed me my bachelor's degree, diploma in mathematics, with a huge sigh of relief. Yes, that's right. Your commencement speaker, everybody, is a two-time college dropout from this particular college. But as was mentioned by Dean Roberts, I did graduate. And perhaps to your families, I am a better commencement speaker for you than those who dropped out forever, like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. So, what was it that pulled me away from my university studies? Well, some would say it was my head injury my senior year of high school, playing tennis. That's another story. But I think it is more likely that it was my love of the mountains, and in particular climbing and skiing. And yet, when I was skiing every day, and in my first round of that, at Snowbird Ski Area, I skied 178 days that year, which is nearly impossible. Yes, that's right. Say it again. But I was missing the intellectual stimulation of the academic life. So much so that in my apartment or in the lift shack at Snowbird, I was still studying linear algebra and reading Gödel, Escher, Bach, and Metamagical Themas by Douglas Hofstadter. And here's the deal. If you've not read those, your assignment for next semester is that you read both of those, and I don't care if you're just about to graduate, you still have to read them in a few minutes. Okay. So, finding myself inadequately stimulated mentally, I went back to school. But, as is the case with a system out of equilibrium, I had to go back and ski and climb again. In the climbing community, there's an often used quote from the famed British climber, Mo Antoine, to describe non-climbers his passion to climb mountains and rock faces. He described it as feeding the rat. You no doubt understand the notion in having explained to your families and your friends over the holidays or summers what the hell reason you had to be passionate about biochemistry, computer science, mathematics, physics, biology. You perhaps didn't know the term, but you sure as hell had the rat. My graduate advisor, Jeff Dozier, who recently died and left an enormous hole in our heart, was the founding dean and the distinguished professor emeritus of the Donald Bren School of Environmental Science and Management at UC Santa Barbara. He was a famed snow hydrologist and a remote sensing specialist with a particular passion for mathematics and physics as the underpinnings of his research and his teaching. And just as with my checkered academic past, he found himself in Yosemite Valley, climbing every week during the golden age of climbing in Yosemite in the 1960s, climbing with the likes of Yvon Chouinard of Patagonia fame, Royal Robbins, Frank Sackerer, PhD in physics, Ed Hartooni, PhD in physics. This extracurricular activity, though, led to the not surprising outcome of his flunking out of Berkeley. Ultimately, he scratched that climbing itch, though. He fed that rat sufficiently to find his way back to finish school and then get a PhD in geography and hydrology. But in turn, this checkered past of his led to two beautiful gifts for me in my life. First, it allowed me to proudly introduce him to anyone I could find as the only dean in the University of California system to have flunked out of the University of California system. He rightly noted that it does not generally show up on a CV, so we don't really know whether that's true. But certainly it was a point of pride for him. The second gift was that he was able to understand those of us who had a broader craving in the world, a craving to feed the rat in the natural world and to feed the rat in the natural sciences, and to provide an academic home and springboard of natural and geophysical science exploration, underlain by physics and mathematics, of radiative and mass transfer, including my now deceased friend and academic sibling, Walter Rosenthal, who would carry torn out pages of differential equations up the 3,000-foot face of El Capitan while doing first ascents. I want to move on now to the extrospective, that is, looking at where we natural scientists have and continue to affect society and civilization. The website for the College of Natural Sciences states, "We are guided by the principles of inclusiveness and integrity." It's important for you to understand that you are in a legacy of inclusiveness and integrity in this field. At the core of representative governing are the concepts of inclusiveness and integrity. Modern civilization and governance have as their source the Enlightenment, itself spawned in large part by the scientific revolution. And with the vast majority of cases, the fathers of the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment, inclusivity only had its limits back then, all right, were aspiring to be natural scientists. Copernicus, Galileo, Francis Bacon, John Locke, Newton, and Johannes Kepler, from whom our mother told us a few years ago that we were descended biologically, which gave me enormous hubris. But then she ripped that away from us, telling us that it was just by marriage. So that was lost. Then we had Hobbes, we had Berkeley, we had Hume, we had Descartes, and into the American Revolution, Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson. The remarkable intimacy between the scientific revolution and the age of enlightenment and our present freedoms cannot be overstated. This is in your lineage as natural scientists. And what was driving them all to understand natural systems? They had a rat to feed. They had that rat in them. You've all seen it when you found the topic you loved, the passion for being able to prove a theorem, to wrap your head around quantum mechanics, trying to figure out dark matter, understanding the interplay of chemical reactions and radiative transfer, the energy balance of Arctic ground squirrels, understanding light atom interactions at extremely cold temperatures. Told you you were in there. For me, where I am now with airborne snow observatories, the rat I continue to have to feed craves physically based remote sensing and natural system modeling, changing the future of water management to where we actually now can know how much water is tied up as snowpack and where it is, how fast it will warm and melt, and how much of it will run off and come out of our mountain systems. That's my passion, and understand that it's supported and amplified by the foundations that I learned in this college with a very similar degree to what you're getting today. So coming back to Mo Antoine and his thoughts on leaving climbing, which I extend to all of you more broadly as you move on with a degree in natural sciences. Quote, "To snuff out feeding the rat without knowing who you are and what you are capable of, I can't think of anything sadder than that. No, I don't think you will snuff it out. You all have been too impassioned by the natural sciences. You had to be so impassioned in order to work through this difficult degree. Not by cash, not by prestige, not by luxury, but by a passion to feed your rat. Congratulations to all of you and your rats."
So thank you, Tom, for sharing that inspiring message with our students. I would now like to invite Colorado State University Provost and Executive Vice President Marion Underwood to share a few words with our graduates.
Thank you, Dean Roberts. Dear graduates, I am so inspired by you. You have achieved something extraordinary, and a world of opportunity awaits you, and certainly the world needs you. No matter your path forward, my advice to you is simple, yet I promise it can transform your lives. Be so good they can't ignore you. This is a response given by comedian Steve Martin when asked for advice on how to become successful in show business. Martin went on to say, "I just think that if somebody's thinking, how can I be really good, people are going to come to you." Now, maybe there are a couple of you in the audience today who secretly aspire to become a famous comedian, but what about the rest of us? Martin's advice, and I believe he intended it in this way, really spans an ocean of aspirations for personal and professional success. Georgetown professor and best-selling author Cal Newport based the title of one of his books on Steve Martin's wisdom. The book is called "Be So Good They Can't Ignore You: Why Skills Trump Passion in the Quest for Work You Love." Professor Newport's book contends that the key to career success is to identify your strengths and invest your efforts in those areas over and over again. Here's a brief excerpt. "What makes life meaningful is to become excellent at something valuable. Don't obsess over discovering your true calling. Instead, master rare and valuable skills. Once you build up the career capital that those skills generate, invest it wisely. Use it to acquire control of what you do and how you do it, and to identify and act on a life-changing mission." I agree with this advice, so I pass it on to you today. Day in and day out, in whatever you do next, I encourage you to be so good that no one will ever be able to ignore you. And as Professor Newport says, once you think you've gotten there, raise your definition of good and repeat over and over again. Scholars, you have done great work during your academic career at Colorado State. Your success has been no accident. Now go out there, Rams, and be so good they can't ignore you. Scholars, congratulations to you, your loved ones, your mentors, and your faculty, and everyone who contributed to this defining moment in your life. We are all so proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Underwood. It's now my distinct honor to present our Fall 2024 graduating class to Provost and Executive Vice President Underwood for degree conferral. Will the candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree please rise? I present to you these students who have completed all the requirements established by the various departments, the college, and the university for the Bachelor of Science degree. The Faculty Council has recommended to the Board of Governors of the CSU system that these candidates receive the Bachelor of Science degree in their respective disciplines, and the Board of Governors officially voted to confer these degrees.
Are you ready? It's my sincere honor to formally declare, on behalf of and with the authority of the Board of Governors of the Colorado State University System, I hereby confer the Bachelor of Science degree on each of you, together with all of the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereunto. Let us all recognize the achievements of this outstanding group of students. On behalf of the entire CSU community, congratulations.
Thank you, Provost Underwood. An important tradition in academia is the tassel switch. It symbolizes one's transition from candidate to graduate. Before conferral of your bachelor degree, the tassel is worn to the right of your mortarboard. Now that your degrees have been officially confirmed, I ask each of you to please move your tassels to the left. Congratulations. We will now take a moment to recognize the students who have earned academic honors and distinctions. Students earning the cum laude designation have distinguished themselves through outstanding academic performance during their time at CSU. Their GPA is in the top 10% of their graduating class. Those students graduating summa cum laude are students in the top 1% with a GPA of 3.99 or better. Students designated magna cum laude make up the next 3% of the class with a GPA above 3.94. And those designated cum laude constitute the next 6% with a GPA above 3.83. Those students are wearing golden gowns or a gold cord over a green honors gown. The University Honors Program offers a challenging and rewarding curriculum for outstanding students, and all honors students must maintain at least a 3.5 cumulative GPA. These students are wearing green gowns and a bachelor's hoods, or if a gold gown, they will be wearing a green cord. Will the summa cum laude, magna cum laude, and honors program graduates please stand or raise your hands so that we may applaud your remarkable accomplishment. So you've probably noticed that the person that put stand up, sit down in the script needs to work a little harder next time. However, congratulations to you, of course. Please be seated. I'm going to pay for that remark later. In addition, we would like to recognize students completing the Teaching Licensure Program. Will the students who are licensed as middle and high school science and mathematics teachers please rise or raise your hands so that we may recognize your dedication? Please rise. Please be seated. The Dean's Office wishes to recognize those students who have enriched their education in the sciences by completing a second major outside the College of Natural Sciences. The Academic Enrichment Award was established to honor these students for the breadth of their education. Each of these students will be mailed a certificate from the Dean. Would the students with a second major outside our college please rise or raise your hand so we may recognize your achievements? Thank you. Please be seated. Another group the college would like to recognize is our first-generation students. First-generation students are students whose parents have not completed a bachelor's degree. These students are a point of pride for all of us. Will our first-generation graduates, our faculty here in attendance who are first-generation graduates, please stand or raise your hand so we may applaud your success. Thank you. Please be seated. We would also like to acknowledge the members of the U.S. Armed Services who are receiving their degrees today. Will you please stand or raise your hand? Please be seated. Since 1870, CSU has served those who have served our nation, and we are currently home to 2,000 student veterans, dependents, and active duty military members. At this time, I would also like to recognize those in the audience who have served or are serving in the military. Would the current and former members of the U.S. Armed Forces joining us in the audience please stand or raise your hand so we may applaud your commitment to our nation. Thank you so much. Please be seated. Shortly, we will begin the diploma distribution. You, our newest graduates, will be introduced by Dr. Bruce Draper and receive your diploma covers. At that time, you will have your picture taken. You will then be congratulated by Provost Underwood, Interim Dean Roberts, and the chair of your major department. Lieutenant Colonel Scott McCoy will congratulate our ROTC graduates. Faculty from your department will greet you as you proceed off the stage. You will have an individual picture taken and then return to your seat. Walking across this stage is a symbolic moment that represents the completion of your degree and you joining the large community of alumni who have come before you. Traditionally, the college gives a gift to each of our graduates to help commemorate this moment. This year's gift is representative of the achievement we are celebrating today. As you shake hands with the university leadership, your department chair will hand you a commemorative coin. This coin can serve as a reminder of the college from which you are graduating today, and it represents the community of people who came before you and who will follow in your footsteps. And now, on to the most important part of today's celebration. At this time, marshals, please escort our fall 2024 graduates to the platform.
I'm going to take the cards from you after you read them.
In just a moment, I will present the fall 2024 graduates of the College of Natural Sciences. But of course, first, let me make a couple of announcements. Guests attending our ceremony are reminded not to block the view of others by standing or by taking photographs at the railing, and to refrain from the use of air horns. Graduates will receive digital images from the professional photographer approximately 3 days after the ceremony. This is your commencement. We invite you to take photographs during the distribution of diplomas, but please do so in an orderly manner. Graduates will proceed across the stage by major, beginning with biochemistry. Honors graduates will lead each department. Graduates, if you are the first person in your major, please hand me your major sign when you reach the microphone. I will announce each new major and then each graduate's name. And now, it is with great pleasure I present to you the fall 2024 graduates of the College of Natural Sciences, beginning with the graduates receiving a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry. Rayleigh Ann Patch. Jessica Sweeney. Jason Robert McDonald. Alondra Rocio Anguiano Contreras. Sierra T. Brown. Carissa Coleman. Courtney Pintmantel. Camilla I. Angeles. Alyssa E. Laird. Natalie Morales. Ryan M. Hasbrook. Ella Johnson. Graduates receiving the Bachelor's of Science in Biology: Rachel Eliana Skolnick. Nicole Emily Bartz. Paige Alyssa Gruber. Kelly Ann Brady. Tessa Sinead Piscaldi. Erin Ashlyn Citarella. Brooke Schreiner. Quincy G. Hansen. Grayson Daniel Garver. Ethan S. Lemberger. Adam Michael Sochinski. Aya Bishop. Delaney Shea Kawast. Gabriella Cecilia Abad. Haley Griego. Angelina Yvette Cruz. Benjamin James Bollinger. Alexia Sky Harvey. Amy Naslian. Rachel Jacks. Kylie Jewett. John David Mayer. Hao Zhou. Joseph C. Weidler. William Duvall. Charlotte Diane Nielsen. Cindy Odalise Archila. Lainey McKinley Freeland. Autumn Dawn James. Isabella Jade Anderson. Lauren Renee Job. Hannah Rose Webb. Avery May Vanderven. Hannah Rebecca Gilliard. Zukaila Owens. Renee Jones. Skylar H. Wagner. Kayla Crawford. And now, graduates receiving a degree in chemistry. Mackenzie Sarah Moore. Gwen Catherine Willis. Cameron Kirk Osborne. Lambert Douglas Christille. Kyle Dunn. Claire Elise Jepson. Jocelyn Carlisle Willie. And now for students receiving the Bachelor's of Science degree in Computer Science. Everett Ansel Lowork. Colin Gregory Conrad. Nathan Allen Orwick. Josiah Daniel Hegarty. Ethan Sean Smith. Ellery Bach. Ava Diane Schneider. Thomas Lewis Stewart. Jacob Ray Ingram. Gary Lara. Anthony R. Donsero. Liam T. Hartman. Mason William Stencil. Ali Fayed. Brendan S. Verspool. Jeffrey M. Jernberg. Denzel Henry Hartshorn. Aiden Thomas Slusher. Spencer Carl Gilmore. Colton James Leopold. Joseph Maiden. Carlos Franco Torres Zerna. Emma Schneiderman. Gerardo Valenzuela. Sawyer Lee Parker. Quinn David Patterson. Malin Lilani Jackson. Seth Lucas Harlan. Sean Cobb. Jackson Roseberry. Tyler Paul Oreski. Ryan Christopher James. Ryan Philip Carpenter. Dominic Thomas Strebe. Jacob Stinson. Taylor Dallas. Nathan Richard Bennick. Schenkenberger. Davis E. Schenkenberger. Ashton Sabo. Jake Sherman. Brent Douglas Jones. Boone C. Loesch. Benjamin Ibarra. Jessica Kirsten Cobb. Benjamin D. Perry. Matthew Smith. Joshua Underwood. Shay Morgan Spalding. Jacopo Folgoni Borsa. Fu Wen Yang. Robert Andrew Longo. Lauren Liu. Grayson R. Morris. Quincy S. Meisman. Callista P. Robinson. Rishab Nuguru. Daniel H. Papa. Jacob D. Papa. Kylie Rose Hurley. Andy Diep Nguyen. Ziyoung Hu. Haobal Yuan. Michael A. Papa. Humaid Yasser Al-Kebi. Levi Shafter. Mitchell Scott. Tumala Leka with Masters in Computer Science. And now graduates receiving a degree in Data Science. Aiden Gordon Kempman. Lucas Pacheco. Jixin Lee. Now graduates receiving a degree in mathematics. Ariel Serena Capriello. Kaylee Elizabeth Plunansky. Anna Thormidsgod. Casey Joe Baker. Gabriela Alexandria Goris. Jennifer Lopez. Ermelinda Faye Bahi. Andrew Dane Kempschroeder. Thatcher Michael Fernandez. And now graduates receiving a degree in natural sciences. Alyssa Marie Belanger. Madison DeVries. Stephen Hurley Jasek. And now for graduates receiving degrees in physics. Tabor Horrigan. Abigail Marie Thayer. And now for graduates receiving a degree in psychology. Arthur Scario Fernandez. Fiona Helen Gilfinin. Mia Carla Goreca. Taylor G. Whitmarsh. Eden Nolan. Emily H. Guinea. Emily J. Rogers. Danu Stefan Mudimba Kunkiki. Hain Farr. Krista E. Olgren. Marilyn Grace Harbor. Maya Sanali Vijayviga. Kia Marie Nichols. Piper Lee Vasquez. Dorothy Elizabeth Rust. London Mia Bailey Shoemaker. Erica Lee Martin. Mackenzie A. Jenkins. Jax Joaquin Perez. Grace H. Bilbrough. Mackenzie Ray Endorf. Tess K. Hull. Ariana R. Brooks. Justin C. Dahl. Krista Jackson. Jackson Y. Emerson. Harvey Swenson. Abigail Bussey. Lauren J. McBean. Bethany Marie Therese Nabity. Nevin Quinn Cole. Isabella Claire Lamy. Corey Bovey. Paige Elizabeth Grieve. Ash S. Higgins. Emily Rose Hoogs. Kylie K. West. Lucia Gabrielle Garamoni. Benjamin Schumann. Jada Jerome. Catherine Tabb. Maria Bati. Maya M. Branson. Ella Falmer Hummels. Andrew Thomas Wyatt. Harley N. Cohen. Chelsea Elijah Sandoval. Amber Earl. Isabel Kluke Sink. Mahalakshmi Ramasamy. Larissa Marie Wu. Ali Marquez. Lindsay Barnett Bell. Nina Eva Yastrzymski. Maxwell Richard Fedigan. Angel Cruzada Arroyo. Brianna Renee Carey. Lakin Lynn Rye. Zachary C. Haynes. Avery Rose Bear. Adara Marie Walker. Noah Sorensen. Anna May Capels. McKinley R. Clark. Catherine Ann Bouvet. Jada M. Helling. Lorna J. Walston. Julia S. Patterson. Isabella Joy Packwood. Haley Victoria Jones. Glenn Crutchfield Slack. Riley E. Smith. Autumn Violet Heinz. Alyssa Nicole Parker. Paola Nunez. Gretchen Carey Hummel. Abigail Lynn Reisbeck. Jack S. Jones. Rob J. Spenceley. Kaya Milan Berggren. Anna Grace Voigt Griffin. Neve Patricia Taylor. And now graduates receiving a Bachelor's of Science degree in Statistics. Al-Yaqadan Saif Al-Fahadi. Now for graduates receiving a Bachelor of Science in Zoology. Nicole Elizabeth Hemmerlein. Ethan C. Manik. Marissa Connie Gomez. Addison Olivia Morris. Karma Nicole Ruling. Keona Marie Gulnak. Anurag Arjun Iyengar. Meka Gaukar. Madison A. Howell. Alexandria Elizabeth Solari. Hallie Michaela Wright. Hannah Elizabeth D'Alessandro. Kelsey Alexandra James. Sydney J. Ridgway. Sean Summerfield Moore. Emmett James Anderson. Catherine Ann Gertis. Pei Fu. Catalina Ruiz. Joshua Stephen Blair. Sierra Verona Andreessen. Catherine Grace McInnes. Jared Wynn. Aaliyah J. West. Carly Ray Hogendorn. Lauren K. Patrick. Sean Felix Fusa. Kiana Sierra Hernandez. Olivia Moody. Pere Bakhta. Elisa Iwa Javutsky. Kaylee Marie Merrill. Second Lieutenant Jeffrey A. Hersey.
Good evening. My name is Tracy Richards, and I serve as the Associate Chair in the Department of Psychology. I am also a graduate of Colorado State University. I'm sure that you are excited and proud to have reached this point. We have observed the strength and resilience with which you rose to the challenge of earning your degree, and we are proud of you. Remember that our most difficult challenges are the ones that expand our potential and unite those that overcome those obstacles together. Some of you may be feeling a little sentimental or a little bit nervous about taking the next big step. But it is now that you begin writing your next chapter, tackling your next big adventure, and living your purpose. Each one of you came to CSU from a different place, and each one of you has a different future ahead. But no matter what happens, you all have one very important thing in common with each other and with more than 250,000 others who have come before you. You are all alumni of Colorado State University. So while you may be leaving this campus, be assured your university will not leave you. Your department and college, your professors and advisors, and the CSU Alumni Association will continue to be here for you every step of the way. I'm happy to be the first to welcome you to the alumni family. Congratulations on a job well done, and go Rams. I would now like to invite Interim Dean Roberts to share a few final thoughts.
Graduating students, it is my pleasure to have spent this time with you celebrating all that you have accomplished. In the 20+ years that I have been working at CSU, I've attended 40 or so commencement ceremonies. Each one of them is special. We celebrated different groups of students who experienced CSU at unique points in its history. We heard from a diverse set of commencement speakers who have shared their own journeys and advice for our graduates. As I reflected on what I wanted to say to all of you this evening, I kept coming back to the idea of our college. What makes the College of Natural Sciences one cohesive group? Our majors are very diverse, from biology to computer science to psychology. Our buildings are spread across campus. Our research covers everything from the smallest building blocks of life to the vastness of the universe, to the invisible data that makes up so much of our modern society. So, how do all these seemingly disparate topics come together to create one whole that is our college? After some time, I think I found one answer. In all our disciplines, there's a question that lies at the heart of our learning and studies as we look at the natural and digital world. And that question is, why? We're not content with, it just works that way, or that is just how it is, or it doesn't matter as long as it is useful, I don't know. We seek to understand the why. The tools that we use are science and mathematics, but what are we? We're explorers of the unknown. Through our discoveries, whether it's a new way to synthesize a chemical compound, a more efficient computational algorithm, or an understanding that helps someone deal with an addiction, we create new knowledge, improve lives in our communities, and drive society forward. You will notice that earlier I mentioned that this is one answer to the question I posed, and I said that intentionally. Even the answer to a question of why is rarely simple and almost never complete. We all know that there is not an end to knowledge. There is not an absolute answer. Although our recent graduates in the Department of Mathematics are like, I can give you an absolute answer. No. So, all jokes aside, the understanding that we create is ever growing. In the same way, you as a person are ever growing, evolving, and changing. Today marks a significant transition in your life, from student to alum. This is one of many transitions that you will have, and while change can bring about challenges and stress, it can also be exciting. Being an explorer is not always easy, but it is rewarding. As you walk out of the ceremony today, embrace all of the emotions and feelings that come with this transition. Feel the power of being connected to everyone in the College of Natural Sciences. And you know that Colorado State University is not a part of your past, but an ever-present community that will continue to support you through life's many transitions. Congratulations to our graduating class.
I have specifically asked to conduct this part of our ceremony. As a first-generation graduate, I find it particularly meaningful and poignant. Before we conclude, we must acknowledge the people who have helped you throughout your journey. I would like to take a minute to address the family and friends who are here today and those who are joining us in spirit from afar. Your support and guidance have been and will continue to be critical to these graduates' success. We are forever grateful for the gifts you have given and the sacrifices you have made, all of which have led to this moment. Will the parents, partners, family, and friends assembled here please stand or raise your hand so that we may recognize you? Thank you all. Have we got this out of our system? There are a number of people I would like to thank for making today's ceremony possible. First, thank you to our college staff, our student employees, our announcer, Bruce Draper, and our faculty marshals. Thanks also to our soloist, Haley Price, as well as the Colorado State Brass Ensemble. And special thanks to our interpreters, Jeffrey Bigger and Jenny Miller, who translated our ceremony into American Sign Language. And once again, thank you to our platform party and faculty for being here to help celebrate our students. I want to extend a special thank you to commencement speaker Tom Painter for your thoughtful words and for Provost Underwood for joining our ceremony today. Please acknowledge them. Please look to the screens around the arena for the lyrics. Stand if you are able and join us as we sing the Colorado State alma mater. Please be seated. I would like to ask the members of the audience to please remain seated until the platform party, faculty, and students have left the auditorium. Please meet your graduate outside of the building or join us across Plum at the Durrell Center. Photographers will be circulating outside the auditorium to capture additional photographs of our graduates with their family and friends. Graduates, please remain seated until the platform party has completely exited the room. Marshals will direct you to the exits at the appropriate time. Congratulations, class of 2024. Enjoy the rest of this special weekend with your family and friends.